With the release of Sonic Frontiers, fans have been loud and proud with their praise of the game. Such praise includes peak fiction, Sonic is back, Sonic fans keep winning. That last one needs the context of how the movie had a positive reception with fans and the mainstream audience. Today's objective is simple. I'm going to do a simple, mostly spoiler-free review on Sonic Frontiers. For the nitty-gritty deep dive review, you're going to have to be a bit more patient as things have been a little hectic with uploads around here. A huge thank you is in order to Sega for providing a review copy of the game on PC. So, is Sonic Frontiers worth your time in $60? Is it a massive improvement over previous lackluster releases? And was it worth the wait? Let's find out after we hear a word from our sponsor. This video is brought to you by Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for anyone who loves learning and wants to explore their creativity and learn new skills. With thousands of classes available, there's a little something for everyone as there may be multiple courses on similar topics. I've been using Vegas Pro as my video editor of choice for the last couple of years, and David Eves' class was a great refresher on how to do certain things within the program. Personally, I was really interested in the section about video stabilization in the event that I end up doing on-camera segments, or if I ever need it for something else. The other benefits of Skillshare would have to be the ad-free viewing, so you can start a class and not have to worry about being forced to stop for a moment. Not only that, but being able to stop and continue at any time that you please really helps as well. If you're interested in discovering a new skill or refining a current skill, you can become a member with the link provided below this video. In fact, the first 1,000 people to use the link will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Give it a shot, and a huge thanks to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. Playing as Sonic in the Starfall Islands is less like The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and more like Super Mario Odyssey in size and scope. Rather than one massive connected world, the game is separated into a few islands with their own objectives, trapped characters, and cyberspace portals. They all have their own blue and red seeds, cocos, memory items, portal gears, and chaos emeralds. There's not a set of 7 for each island. It's explained in the game, but I'm going to avoid talking about that for now. We're going to stick to Kronos Island and a bit of Ares Island today, those being the first 2 in the game. The most obvious downside to the exploration and navigation is the confusing way that fast travel is handled. Sure, Sonic is fast. Well, not fast at first, but he can be faster as you go through the game. So when the player runs to one side of the island only to have to comb the entire area to find something, fast travel can be a huge help. Sadly, the game doesn't give that to the player until they collect scrolls to take them to specific characters, or until they complete every mission in the open zone. Calling it an oversight is a bit too generous, and this can pad out the game, adding much more time depending on how the island is designed. The first 2 are fine enough, but there are later zones that add elements that make navigation a chore. Sonic is able to get around with his double jump, boost, and other moves like the drop dash, which surprisingly works really well at times. His movement can be tweaked and tuned to be more comfortable to the player, and I think this is a really cool addition. If Sega were to return to the open zone concept, keep these options available, but please make some tweaks to the navigation in the open zones. This is probably the best that Sonic has ever controlled since, well, Sonic Adventure. There will be times where the player flies off a ledge or a small rock, but it rarely gets in the way. There's so much to play around with, all it needs is better playgrounds to use them in. Keep doing this, Sega. When it comes to collectible items, it's as simple as going through some of the overworld obstacles littered around the place, breaking containers, and using the side loop. Yeah, this thing's pretty useful because it can get the important items, and it can help you max out your ring count to have a more powerful boost. This thing can even help with combat, which is something worth mentioning. At first, it's pretty bare bones with 1 attack, a dodge, and baby's first parry because it's not time sensitive. You can earn more abilities by collecting these little skill point diamonds to level it up and expand your moveset. Once you have a handful of attacks, the combat has a bit more variety, but it's still not that complex. Even without its complexity or variety, the one thing Sonic Frontiers does really well with this combat is make it fun to use. So anyone can press buttons and look like they can eradicate enemies with precision or something like that. Basically, the game knows how to make you look good. There are going to be enemies that you need to approach in a different manner, so it's not completely mindless. If that wasn't enough, you can level up your stats by collecting cocos for upgrading the max ring count and top speed. You can also find blue and red seeds to upgrade your defense and attack. It takes way too long to upgrade your speed and max ring count because this is ridiculous. I also am aware that I'm showing a much later part of the game, but this is just to show how incredibly boring this is. At least with the other Coco, you can go to them and have it all done at once, and I really wish the game did this for both characters. By the end of the game, I maxed out all of my stats and watched as the enemy health just disintegrated right in front of me as I did some cool stuff. Even with all of the combat upgrades, fighting larger enemies is a bit awkward. I found myself struggling to deal with them in different ways, and it never really felt like it was my fault. like not making it to the top of the Asura, flying off of the rails of the Strider, or trying to send the Sumo into the electric part being a very slow process. Fighting regular enemies is fine, but fighting these ones are a bit of a problem. Throughout the game, you'll need to get keys so you can get to the Chaos Emeralds. While some can be collected through the open zones, you'll more than likely have to go through cyberspace. These levels suck. Sonic's movement is not even close to how the open zone controls feel. Turning is super stiff, his speed is pathetic, and the drop dash might as well not even be there, and the drift does exist, and it's way too sensitive. Not only that, but the level design for most of these come off as a little too familiar, and it makes me want to play other Sonic titles if you catch my drift, while other levels feel like a blink and you'll miss it experience. They're not that good. If you didn't need to come through this part of the game, I would not be as annoyed about playing it. As the game goes along, you unlock cutscenes for the captured character with enough items related to that character. These cutscenes even have references to previous titles sprinkled in, but I'll let you figure out which ones they are. The story isn't mind-blowing, but it does aim for a more mature story rather than what we've had for the previous few entries. Once the player has enough emeralds and are ready to grab the last one, players are given something different. I'll keep it to Kronos Island. They give you a puzzle and it's pretty tricky. And I'm going to be spoiling a little bit of the Kronos Island, so click the timestamp to avoid the spoiler. The fights are more spectacle than a real fight. Sure, you will be fighting the Titan by punching and kicking it and using your combos and also parrying its attacks. There's also some quick time events thrown in, but it's still a spectacle. Not only do the visuals help with that, but so does the audio, and it's actually pretty good. I enjoy the open zone music. It really sets the mood of an empty, lonely land full of hostility. The cyberspace music is a bit hit or miss, but that's more of my preference of music. But for the most part, I enjoy the soundtrack of Sonic Frontiers. I do have a slight nitpick with audio, and that's the sound of the homing attack reticle being this clicking sound, but I eventually got used to it. Now we can actually get to the visuals of the game, and it looks like an early PS4 game. To give you all some context, I'm playing this on PC at 1080p with max settings at 60 FPS, fairly standard. There were times in Sonic Frontiers where it looked like textures didn't even properly load, only to find out that that's actually what they look like. I mean, the scene where Sonic wakes up on Kronos Island looks really bad, with the rain making it look even worse, and it looked like a fan project. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but this is an official product. It should be able to look better. Also, Sonic's animations look kinda jank, and it's hard to ignore at times because it'll catch me by surprise. I did think the visual effects in cyberspace looked pretty cool, but aside from that, it's nothing special. Also, the shadows can freak out even during cutscenes. So that's about as much as I could talk about with Sonic Frontiers without completely spoiling important parts. I want to talk about them, but I'm going to need more time to get into the nitty-gritty of this title. With that said, is Sonic Frontiers a massive improvement over the previous titles? Yes and no. The open zone is the best part of the game, but it has some baffling choices made, and cyberspace is another part of the game as well, which sucks. Is it worth $60? Even with 16 hours, I have a hard time recommending it for the issues that I dealt with. There is some serious padding done by the devs, which led to a good amount of time being wasted traveling across the zones to get to an objective. And at certain times, the game can be very stingy with its collectibles, and upgrading ring count and top speed is just a joke. If you're unsure about buying the game and the gameplay hasn't convinced you, waiting for a sale is always a good idea, which is something I recommend. Sure, I had fun, but there are some boring, monotonous things that I can tolerate more than others, so it'd be disingenuous to recommend it just because I can tolerate it. This one's going to be more on you to figure out. Now for the important question, was Sonic Frontiers worth the 5-year wait? I don't think this is the game of the year people are making it out to be. It just looks like another average Sonic game with good ideas and lackluster execution. Half-baked, if you want to say. I would love to see them go all in with the good stuff, but it looks like we'll be waiting for another game to see the potential of the open zone gameplay. That, and I have no idea how the traditional levels got worse. So yeah, it's great to see fans get behind the game, but I hate to say this, it really wasn't worth the wait. But it is moving the series in a better direction. The storytelling, the ambition of the game, I'm not too sure about the voice direction. I found it to be a little inconsistent. They went for a different tone in this game, but then eventually dropped it. There's more I can go over, but again, we're going to cover that in the full review, so that's going to do it. Hey everyone, thanks for watching this minimal spoiler review. I'm going to be taking a bit of a break, but while I do that, I'll be doing some streams and I'll be slowly working on the full review. A week is not enough time for me to do something like that. And the Mega Man fan game video was being worked on around the same time Sonic Frontiers released, so I did not have a lot of time to do this. But If you have played Sonic Frontiers, let me know what you think about it in the comment section down below. Please be mindful of spoilers so that way those who haven't played it yet can experience a lot of it for the first time. I know you want to be quick to talk about it, but I'm going to need you to have some restraint. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to click like and subscribe if you're new. You can even click the bell icon for notifications. At this time, I want to thank the supporters who are the channel members and patrons who are supporting with a monthly contribution. The Chaos tier members have their names scrolling on screen, but the Super tier members get a shout out. They are Dork in a Hat, Martin YT Plays, Sir Nitro the Bastard, and Ryan Rolfs over on Patreon. What is up with that third name? Sorry to call you out on that, but what the hell? If you want to support the channel with a monthly contribution, you can do so with the join button below this video, or use the Patreon link in the description at patreon.com/GottaBeFrank. Lowest tier is $1, and I thank you for your extra support. I have places to follow on social media, so feel free to do that if you want to. And with that said, that's going to do it for today. I hope you all have a wonderful and safe day, and I'll see you when I'm ready for the full review. But until then, take care.